We are live here at Nerd Wars. We are taping some segments. We had a whole fun live stream. So much stuff you missed. Check out the playlist at the end of all the fights we had. They'll be uploaded today and tomorrow. And you can always catch us live Thursday nights, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Tuesdays, or you can listen to the audio version on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff when Chris gets it, because sometimes it's hard for us to get it up there right away. But thank you, Chris, for your hard work. We got Chris here who does that and so much more here on the channel. We got Damien, we got Don, and we got Danny from Geekdom 101 and World of Geekdom. So happy to have you guys. I'm surprising you with stories as we go. I got another one to show you. I want to see what you guys think of this one. There is a Twister reboot in the works at Universal with Joseph Kosinski eyed to direct. Joseph Kosinski from Tron. He's the one who did Tron, right? Tron Legacy. And then he's doing Top Gun Maverick, and he also did Tom Cruise's Oblivion. The previous Twister, obviously, as we remember, was directed by John Bont, who did Speed. They spelled his name wrong. It wasn't John DeBoot. Come on, Variety, who works for you over there. But yeah, who did Speed. This is obviously the iconic film starring Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, about tornado chasers. Yeah, Bill Paxton, rest in peace. Super sad loss. Helen Hunt is still around. Plot details are vague, but the original film starred them. It's storm chasers, a couple on the brink of divorce. They team up to chase tornadoes in order to deliver their advanced weather alert systems that have been placed in the path of twisters. Brought in $494 million worldwide. That's a lot back then. And it was applauded for its special effects. It even has that sort of twister zone at Universal Studios still. So anyway, he's got John Kosinski is now up for it. They don't mention whether this is a sequel, reboot. No one knows yet, but obviously they want to try and reboot, bring it in and use the name, I guess. Will they do Twister, Cyclones? Who knows what they'll figure out. But the question is, one, do we like this? Is this something that is worth it? It's like one of those films where it's like, I'm not offended. I enjoyed Twister. I'm not like disrespected that they would do another Twister. I'm surprised they didn't do like direct to video sequels back then, like they did Tremors. It could have been a totally fine franchise for them, sort of weather hunters going to do other things, and maybe even you Twister or the Arctic, and then you do have like an Arctic Twister or something. There's a million ways you could spin this up. Oh man, I'm on a roll. But I guess the question is anybody like offended by this?
This is an iconic movie of my childhood.
So you're offended that they're rebooting it?
Yeah.
Okay, Damien, are you offended?
I'm wondering why reboot this film. Like, this isn't one of the films that I would say that. I mean, yes, visual effects wise, I agree. Visual effects wise, it can work.
They can do it better. Let's be honest.
They can do it better, yeah. But why call it Twister? Honestly, you could make another tornado movie, and they've made other tornado movies and other storm movies that are great. And unless you're tying it directly to Helen Hunt's character, it doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, Sharknado had a whole franchise, and they're wonderful, mind-melting films.
Well, we don't know. So I guess that's the question. Let's go around quickly. Danny and Don. Let's go to Don first. Are you offended? Does it bother you that they're doing this? A reboot?
I think it's unnecessary.
Okay, and then just quick answers. Danny, unnecessary? Do you mind?
If I'm being honest, I don't care. Honestly,
that's where I'm at.
Look, Twister was an iconic movie of the '90s. But I love all kinds of films. Disaster movies are on the lower end of films that I like, if I'm being honest with you. So I just don't care. I mean, if it comes out and I have free time, I would go see it, maybe, possibly for the purpose of a review. But I'm not really excited. Like, it doesn't get me excited. It's just whatever to me.
Now, for the rest of you who are sort of annoyed, what if Helen Hunt does show up, or they have Bill Paxton's character's kid sort of trying to fulfill his dad's legacy? Does that suddenly make you?
Here we go again with this.
Does that make you less offended and more intrigued?
No.
I don't think people care that much. If I'm being honest with you,
I don't either.
It would. I mean, if you do, okay. So there are some new things that are happening. With weather and weather control and things like that. And we've heard of water spigots and other places. Like, it can't be Middle America hurricane. Like, you've got to give me something that's an extreme weather condition in some other place. Like, the story would have to go so far removed from the original to make it worth saying, okay, they put a new spin on it, right? Using Andy's pun. The point is that right now, even with Helen Hunt, it's more than just her character to make it interesting. He needs more than that.
No, I agree.
What would you think would make it interesting, Andy?
I honestly don't care. What was so fun about I like John DeBont's directing. I like Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. They had good chemistry. It was just them running around with special effects. You had Philip Seymour Hoffman. It was just a fun summer movie. That sort of I think it's not one that's like, oh my god, I loved it. I enjoyed it in the theaters. I enjoyed eating popcorn to it. I watched it on video several other times. It was just a fun throwback, and it would be fun to revisit. To be honest, because I haven't watched it in forever. But it just was one of those fun movies back then. It wasn't overly CGI and filled with a million disaster effects, but it had enough that it kept escalating. But it really was a character movie too. They were two really great actors sort of having that bickering back and forth. So if you're going to do it, you got to have something like that here for me.
Have Roland Emmerich direct it.
No, Geostorm and all the crap he's doing is too much. If you put a good director in, I don't see why you couldn't make this do it well. Like, you could do better effects for it now. You got to cast somebody, and I think you have a nod to somebody. It could even just be a photo of her, like, oh yeah, the classic Storm Chasers, whatever. But I agree, you don't have to make it too. No one cares that much, I don't think. But just to please people, you could do it. It is odd though. Why do you need it? I mean, because look, we're desperate for franchises. They want more things. And I think, it allows them to resell the first Twister again. So that way you can package them together on the DVD and say the original and the 2021 reboot. That's why we're doing it. But again, like I said at the beginning, I'm not offended. I'm not excited, but I'm not offended. Either way, I'm just like, let's see who they cast. Let's see who the director is. Can they come up with a cool spin? Can they figure out just a night like Jumanji was a good sequel that through homage to the original without disrespecting it. They figured out their own way. Look, if you can creatively figure that out, I'm on board. Yeah, I got no problem with them tapping into franchises that we've already established and liked as kids and figuring out a way to make them cool again. So that's my stance on this. But I think it would be cool if you did a photo or something, no?
Right. I mean, Jumanji is actually the best example you could have whipped out of that reboot sequel kind of thing, because honestly, they went so different with how the game was played that it made it fresh. And really, the only thing it had in common was the title and the board for a little bit. That's the thing, is that Twister, to do a sequel to Twister or to do a reboot of Twister, it would have to go so like not necessarily Twister in outer space, but they would have to go so far into another direction to make it a cool idea again, because we've had tornado movies. That's the other thing too. Twister, when it came out, before it, like the only other tornado movie that I can remember before Twister was like Oz. Yeah. Like, I don't remember any other tornado movie. But since then, there's been so many tornado movies that you're like, what are you gonna bring new to the table? That's the hard part.
It's true.
The era of the disaster movies coming out like once a year is passe, if you ask me. This is my opinion. I was never really into them, like I said before, so I agree with everything you're saying. It's like, when it came out, it was unique. Now there's so many of them, it would just be another tornado movie. That's all it would be,
Yeah, it's a valid point, because even like Man of Steel has the tornado scene, right? There's so many it's a very common trope now in movies that. And I don't want to see like the new GoPro crazy we're going to make it all even more crazy. Look, it could definitely fail. Just like the Point Break remake. They lost the whole point of the movie by making the extreme sports version. I was just like, oh my God. And then they cast nobody good. It's all about the casting. If they put like Chris Pratt and somebody in good with him, I could see this being a commercial hit. If they put like a Chris Pratt and somebody, you got two good names in there, and they got great chemistry, and they're bickering, and they put them on a fun, and they don't just throw a million effects at you, but figure out a good reason to put them on the road again. Look, you could. That's what made the movie work, in my opinion. It was like a summer blockbuster. But I agree, disaster movies these days are all the same damn movie of camera shaking, explosions, and they're always just one-upping the effects, or just like none of it's scary anymore. There was a little bit of like a scariness of like, oh, you're right, because we hadn't seen tornadoes before. Oh, damn, look how it's just like breaking that house apart, and they're like running away on foot. At the same time, it's really silly. They would have probably been caught by some of those twisters in the movie. But I do remember that first time the cow was spinning. Like, I remember sitting in the theaters going, no, my God. But yeah, you can't have that nowadays. No one's going to be that all induced by a cow
I think
spinning.
If they make it like a character study movie, maybe it is Bill Paxton's like son having to deal with the fact that his dad died of a tornado or something. You could make it a good story, and that's what's going to come down to is if you make it a character study, maybe it could work, but we'll see.
Yeah, and just of all of the movies of Bill Paxton's legacy, is this the one we really? I don't know if I need to like.
Aliens, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know who else was in that movie
that.
as technically the villain, I guess you could call him, was Carrie Ewells.
Oh, right. That's right. The competing storm
Yeah.
chasers.
So it'd
Always
be
makes me
interesting
think
maybe
of, like-
bring him back.
Makes me think of like Anchorman, all the
Yeah.
the news teams running around.
News team assemble.
What do you guys think of the comments? We're going to keep live streaming here because we're live on Nerd Wars, but I'm clipping this for YouTube, so thanks for watching the replay. Check us out every Thursday night, 9 p.m., or you can hear the whole stream on iTunes, Spotify, etc. Go check out Danny over at Geekdom 101, Damien, the other side, Adon at Nerd Tots, and Chris, my man, thanks for being here. You will see you next time. Streamers, don't go anywhere. People watching later, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Movie World, too. Bye, everybody!